Phyllis Diller became famous for her wild hair and sharp jokes about her lazy husband, Fang. Yet behind the laughter was a woman carrying heavy secrets. For more than 30 years, she visited the same hidden place. It was somewhere her fans never knew she went. Inside was someone she loved deeply, someone whose illness she could never reveal in public. When she stopped going in 1993, the real pain began. The truth she kept hidden explained why she never stopped performing, even after surviving a heart attack. Born July 17, 1917 in Lima, Ohio, Phyllis entered the world to unusually older parents. Her father Perry was 55, her mother Frances was 36. Surrounded by older relatives and funerals, she grew up comfortable with death. That morbid ease later became the core of her humor. Though her family was German, Irish, and Methodist, she turned away from religion early. Hardship came young, but instead of bitterness, she found comedy. At Central High in Lima, she cracked jokes with classmates outside of class. Those little moments planted the seed of her future career. When the Great Depression struck in the 1930s, her family's finances collapsed. She sold newspapers to help, slowly toughening herself for life ahead. Her last name had once been Triber, changed before her birth, a fact she only learned as an adult. Living in a quiet, often lonely home, she filled the silence with stories. Those tales soon turned into punchlines. By age 10 in 1927, she was accepted into Chicago's Sherwood Music Conservatory. Her piano skills were extraordinary for her age. By 1939, she played with professional orchestras. Still, she quit, not from lack of talent, but from doubt she could match her teachers. Painful as it was, she knew deep down music wasn't her path. The Depression worsened things. By 1933, her family's money ran out, forcing her to leave Sherwood after 3 years. She took any work she could to survive. Later, she admitted quitting piano saved her. She hadn't failed, it pushed her toward something greater. In 1935, she returned to school, this time studying music education at Bluffton. But by 1937, she left again, this time for marriage. For years, she regretted leaving her dreams behind. Yet comedy was waiting for her. In 1940, she and her husband, Sherwood, moved to Ypsilanti, Michigan, where he worked in a bomber plant. Money was scarce, and their son Peter was born September 27th that same year. During wartime rationing, families lived on just $25 a week. The stress of poverty and new motherhood triggered her postpartum depression. Between 1940 and 1945, they moved at least 8 times, eventually settling in California. Sherwood found work at Alameda Naval Air Station, but money was always scarce. Phyllis held the household together. She found escape in radio shows while cleaning the house. The voices and jokes planted a spark in her mind. In 1944, her daughter Sally was born. Sherwood often went unemployed, forcing Phyllis to take a job as a newspaper editor. That skill later gave her an edge in comedy writing. By 1953, they nearly lost their home. Instead of breaking her, the crisis became her turning point. She was 37, and her career was about to begin. But in 1945, tragedy struck when she delivered a premature son. Some sources say his name was Perry. Others say he was never named. He died 2 weeks later, devastating her. Doctors blamed weak medical care at the time. Sherwood had just lost his job, and their life felt unstable. At only 28, Phyllis turned grief into drive. She joined local theater in San Francisco, using the stage to mask her pain. But more loss followed. She suffered a miscarriage soon after. Over the next decade, she endured 6 pregnancies, with only 5 surviving. Between 1946 and 1950, she gave birth to Suzanne, Stephanie, and another son named Perry, bringing her total living children to 5. But with more mouths to feed, money remained scarce. Sherwood refused jobs he thought beneath him. even squandering a $10,000 inheritance that could have helped. The family lived on food stamps, barely able to afford powdered milk. Phyllis earned $15 to $20 a week writing small articles, struggling to support 5 kids under 10 with no help. Instead of breaking down, she turned the chaos into jokes. Those struggles later shaped her comedy about lazy husbands and overwhelming motherhood. But in real time, it felt like drowning. By 1952, things worsened. They were evicted for $300 unpaid rent. That same year, Phyllis finally got steady work, $75 a week as a radio copywriter in Oakland. The job kept them afloat. She created a 15-minute segment, Phyllis Diller, the homely friend maker, poking fun at housewives' advice. The silly name gave her a real voice. Encouraged by Sherwood, she tried performing. Her first show at a veterans hospital was a disaster, heckled while playing piano. But instead of quitting, she used the humiliation as fuel. That same year, she did her first real stand-up show. Even when rent was overdue and jewelry went to pawn shops, Phyllis pushed on. Nobody around her knew the struggle. Then came her big break. On March 7, 1955, at 37, she hit the stage at the Purple Onion. The crowd roared. Unlike glamorous performers, she mocked her looks, her cooking, her life. She joked her meals could kill. The laughter wouldn't stop. What began as a small booking stretched into 89 weeks, almost 2 years. The club earned over $100,000, and suddenly this exhausted mother of 5 was respected. Her $100 a week pay led to TV appearances the following year. A self-help book, The Magic of Believing, gave her the courage to perform. After 15 years at home, she found her voice. By 1956, she reinvented herself completely. With a horsehair wig, cartoonish makeup, a cigarette holder she barely used, and clashing clothes, she became unforgettable. She crafted this look on purpose. At nearly 40, she knew blending in wasn't an option. By leaning into ugly, she made herself stand out, and it worked. Her bookings jumped 40%, and TV soon came calling. She owned 50 wigs, each costing up to $100. Her ivory cigarette holder, a foot long, became a trademark. These quirks built her legend. Yet beneath the mask was a troubled marriage. She channeled that pain into comedy. On June 15, 1958, she dropped her first album, Like a Lampshade in a Whorehouse. Some stores banned it, but it still sold 50,000 copies that year. Her lazy husband character Fang was a thin disguise for Sherwood. She recorded the album before just 20 people, spitting out nearly 200 words a minute. By 1959, it had earned her $10,000 in royalties and TV deals. Even Fang's name came from a typo, but she kept it, writing more than 1,000 jokes about him. The album proved women could be just as fearless on stage as men. By 1959, she was touring non-stop. She played 150 venues, including New York's Blue Angel Club. That year, she logged 50,000 miles and made $25,000, triple her old income. She stored 50,000 handwritten jokes in a steel cabinet, each on an index card, and typed 100 new ones weekly. She worked so hard she once collapsed after a 48-hour drive, yet she never quit. Then, in 1961, TV changed forever. On April 5th, she walked onto The Jack Paar Show. At 43, she didn't look like Hollywood's idea of a star. Her fright wig, cigarette holder, and wild cackle shocked the audience. She made her struggles the punchline. Calling herself ugly, joking about chaos at home, she disarmed everyone. No woman like her had ever been on TV. Though terrified and shaking, she powered through. That single night launched her career. Stardom followed. She landed The Ed Sullivan Show, and comedians like Roseanne Barr later credited her influence. The so-called ugly duckling became a star. In 1966, she risked it all again with her sitcom The Pruitts of Southampton on ABC. She played a broke woman pretending to be rich, pulling off antics like cooking a turkey in a washing machine. Halfway through, it was renamed The Phyllis Diller Show. Ratings tanked, ending after 30 episodes in 1967. Still, she scored a Golden Globe nomination and showed she wasn't afraid to fail. Even being listed as one of TV Guide's worst shows didn't stop her. Instead, she doubled down. She toured with Bob Hope during Vietnam, lifting soldiers' spirits. By 1967, she became a fixture on Hollywood squares. Between 1967 and 1980, she appeared in 28 episodes, firing off punchlines from her tiny square. One classic line came when she chased a garbage truck yelling, "Am I too late for the trash?" The driver shot back, "No, jump right in." That was her gift, turning herself into the joke. Fans loved it. She acted real, not like a star. Taping 5 shows a day, she built friendships and gave fans a glimpse behind the act. She smoked, sang poorly, and juggled 6 kids on no sleep, then turned it all into comedy. Even Eddie Murphy admitted her laugh shaped his own. She wasn't just joking, she was paving the way for future women in comedy like Ellen DeGeneres. In 1968, she got her own NBC variety series, The Beautiful Phyllis Diller. It ran just 13 episodes, mixing sketches, music, and interviews with stars like Bob Hope and Goldie Hawn. Though canceled in 3 months, it added to her fame. Her over-the-top costumes and wigs influenced later icons like Lady Gaga. That same year, she toured Vietnam with Bob Hope again and voiced a character in Mad Monster Party. Her movies of the 1970s were few but notable. In 1969, she starred in The Adding Machine as Mrs. Zero, surprising critics with her dramatic depth. In 1975, she appeared in the Oscar-winning The Sunshine Boys, followed by The Great Balloon Race in 1977 and A Pleasure Doing Business in 1979. She even headlined Broadway's Hello, Dolly in 1969, doing 8 shows a week at age 52. Offstage, her marriage had unraveled. Sherwood, battling mental illness, left her to raise 5 kids alone. Yet she performed nightly to keep the family afloat. By 1976, she was a judge on The Gong Show, cackling at bizarre acts, and later popped up on Match Game PM. Her voice filled every corner, laughing, yelling, entertaining, never pausing for a second. She popped up on The Muppet Show in 1979 and kept returning to The Love Boat between 1977 and 1986. By the close of the 70s, she'd stacked up more than 40 movie roles. In 1966, she even out-earned Bob Hope on a film thanks to her perfect timing. That one was, "Boy, did I get a wrong number." She also tried music. She dropped an album in 1968 called Born to Sing. It wasn't serious at all. She mocked her own voice. The songs were intentionally off-key and loaded with jokes, and that was the fun. Fans loved the odd mix. She blended comedy with music. Tracks included parodies of Satisfaction and Hello Young Lovers, done in her own wacky style. Sales were modest, but it fueled packed shows on tour. Few knew she recorded it during personal chaos. Her marriage had collapsed, her finances had crumbled, and her daughter Sally was later diagnosed with schizophrenia, someone she'd secretly visit every week for decades. On stage, she glowed. Off stage, she broke. That record launched her 1968 TV show. By 1972, she was voicing herself in the new Scooby-Doo movies, mocking psychics. Her following adored her, especially the gay community that embraced her fearless colors and bold honesty. She went on to record over 10 albums. Each release felt like rebellion with laughter. The 1990s gave her a new role, a voice actor. She played the Mouse Queen in The Nutcracker Prince 1990, a flop that earned just $1.7 million of its $8.5 million budget. Still, her wickedly funny delivery stood out. Kids laughed, parents grinned. In 1998, she voiced in A Bug's Life, which soared past $363 million worldwide. Even with her career soaring, her private world stayed heavy. Sally remained institutionalized, and by 1990, her son Peter had cancer. He died in 1998 at 53. Through it all, she toured, joked, and kept her hospital visits hidden. In 1984, she broke new ground again. She filmed a $39.95 home video called Phyllis Diller's Guide to Plastic Surgery. In it, she talked openly about her facelifts and nose jobs. She insisted it wasn't just vanity, it kept her spirit alive. She joked her surgeon was so cheap, he chewed off her earring. But beyond laughs, it was revolutionary. At that time, nobody confessed to surgery. She won an award from the American Academy of Cosmetic Surgery for her honesty. Branding herself the Queen of Plastic Surgery, she turned taboo into talk. Even Joan Rivers followed her path. By 1985, she turned her image into a brand. She launched wigs and wild outfits in her style. At 68, she turned comedy into business. Fans could buy her crazy hairpieces and flashy clothes. She wore wigs herself daily since her natural hair couldn't take the teasing anymore. That business thrived and inspired drag queens and gay fans who saw her more than comic relief. She was royalty. At 79, she shocked audiences again. In 1996, she appeared on The Bold and the Beautiful as Gladys Pope, a makeup artist with flair. She lit up 11 episodes, blending drama with laughs. Her soap opera role delighted viewers. Yet her health quietly slipped. Her heart stopped in 1997, and by 1999, she needed a pacemaker. Still, she pressed on. In 1998, she taped her final stand-up special, Still Out for a Laugh, on NPR at age 81. Her voice wavered. Her aging jokes hit deeper than before, shadowed by fresh grief. Peter had just died that year. She hid her tears, keeping her fans smiling. Directed by Greg Barson and featuring stories from Roseanne Barr and others, it was her farewell without saying goodbye. She continued cameos until 2007. Though her body weakened, her fire never dimmed. She first married in 1939, eloping with Sherwood Diller in Ohio. What looked like love became 26 years of struggle and pretending. Sherwood battled agoraphobia and avoided work, leaving her to support the family, writing, editing, hustling jobs while raising 5 kids. One more child had already died as an infant. Even during World War II, Sherwood barely showed up at his plant job, forcing her to hold it all together alone. She masked it with humor. She created Fang to roast a lazy husband, but it was drawn from her own pain. Behind the act were gambling debts, emotional abuse, and poverty. On September 3, 1965, she divorced him. Only later did she admit how much it scarred her. Less than a month later, she married actor Ward Donovan. It felt like escape, but collapsed even faster. Within months, he drank heavily, cheated, and left her isolated again. She filed for divorce after 3 months, though it wasn't finalized until 1975. At first, she stayed quiet to avoid scandal, later weaving the misery into jokes about useless men. Truth was, the marriage barely lasted 22 weeks. His absence was constant, and loneliness echoed louder than the fights. By 1985, something gentler entered her life. She met Robert Hastings, not a husband, but her true partner. They shared her Brentwood home until his death from cancer in 1996. She never married again. He called her his greatest love. They played gin rummy quietly, enjoying the peace her earlier years lacked. After decades of public grief, she finally found real joy. She never wanted another marriage license. Companionship was enough. Yet her family sorrows persisted. Sally, born in 1944, began showing signs of schizophrenia by the 1950s. She tried to keep her at home, but by 1960, she had to choose institutional care. Her unstable husband only worsened the load. Still, none of it reached her routines. She performed as the cheerful housewife. Fans only learned much later what she carried. Sally died in 1993 at 49, another child gone. Then came July 4, 2002. What should have been celebration turned tragic. Her daughter Stephanie died of a stroke at 54. Phyllis had helped raise her 3 kids after her 1973 marriage. Now she faced another loss. By then, she'd already buried Peter in 1998 and Sally in 1993. At 84, she hid her grief under wigs and work. Her heartbreaks stretched back decades. In 1945, she lost a newborn son 2 weeks after birth following a miscarriage. She and Sherwood had Peter in 1940 and Sally in 1944, but no parent can prepare for burying a baby. She stayed silent for years. Not until her 2005 memoir, Like a Lampshade in a Whorehouse, did she reveal the truth. He was buried quietly in Lima, Ohio. By her death in 2012, she had outlived 4 of her 6 children, a grief too big for comedy. Her youngest son, Harry, born in 1950, was the exception. Harry had dyslexia, which made school and life tough. But despite the storm of Sally's illness and his siblings' deaths, he persevered. He built a career in business and eventually handled her affairs. Through him, she had one lasting light in a dark storm. Through everything, Perry remained beside her and outlived her, showing that not every ending had to break. Life in the 1950s was anything but glamorous. She stayed in a trailer park with 5 kids, struggling to cover rent. Sherwood failed repeatedly, and the family faced eviction many times. To cope, she rehearsed comedy in laundromats just to survive. At 37, she finally caught a break in 1955, performing at San Francisco's Purple Onion for 89 weeks straight. She didn't go on stage chasing fame. It was survival. Still, she kept moving forward, inspired by a book called The Magic of Believing. By the 1970s, after 2 divorces, she was near bankruptcy. She never admitted it publicly, but court files revealed the truth. Ward insisted he only made $500 a month, while she brought in $100,000 and kept everyone afloat. She endured brutal tours, up to 200 shows yearly. Her Fang jokes brought laughter, but behind them was financial collapse. Winning a $5 million music rights lawsuit in 1979 steadied her finances again. The men left destruction, but she rebuilt on her own. She also reconstructed herself physically. From 1972 onward, she underwent numerous cosmetic surgeries. By 1990, she had completed 15 procedures. Her first facelift nearly killed her, leaving her partially paralyzed. Over the years, she reshaped her nose, reduced her breasts, filled her cheeks, lifted her eyes, and even tattooed her eyeliner. She quipped that none of her body parts were the same age. In a 1993 interview, she laughed about it. But in reality, those operations weren't just for beauty. They were armor. One surgery nearly ended her life in 1999 when her heart stopped, requiring a pacemaker. By 1981, at 64, she added another title, author. She wrote The Joys of Aging and How to Avoid Them, turning the dread of aging into humor. It sold strongly, like her earlier books. She wielded her writing as she did her comedy, transforming hurt into something that breathed. Even then, she was still recovering emotionally from divorce, still fighting to matter in a shifting world. After leaving the comedy stage in 2002 at age 85, she revealed another side. She became a painter. Her home transformed into an art space. She threw small gatherings, sold pieces, and welcomed guests who posed beside a lit painting in her foyer. Some works fetched $5,000. In a 2013 estate sale, Her grand piano and artwork were included. One canvas took her 15 years to finish. She never stopped creating, even after a 2007 back injury forced her to skip her 90th birthday on The Tonight Show. Her last years carried quiet struggles. In 1999, she had already suffered cardiac arrest. Her heart completely failed. Medication complications left her paralyzed, yet she fought her way back through therapy. By 2005, she was still voicing characters on Family Guy, her laugh echoing on TV screens. Even with depression, heart troubles, and old scars, she refused to quit. Her last public moment came on May 15, 2012, when she accepted a Lifetime Achievement Award in Lima, Ohio. She appeared fragile, but smiled anyway. On August 20, 2012, at 95, she passed away in her Brentwood home. Her heart gave out for good. Her manager shared she went peacefully, smiling in her sleep. She was cremated, her ashes scattered at sea. It was simple, free, and true to her soul. Later, the world discovered she had hidden deep depression, relentless pain, and countless losses. But what they remembered was her laughter. That's how she wanted it. She made it okay to be bold, messy, truthful, and broken, all at once.